Hello everyone and welcome to WGBS TV Live, brought to you by SupermanHomepage.com, the number one Superman fan site in the world. In this our November 24th, 2020 show, we're going to be covering a range of topics, including Zack Snyder addressing the issue of a Man of Steel director's cut. We're going to be talking about the Critics' Choice Award, stuff happening with the Supergirl cast, comic books, and so much more. We're also going to turn to you to get what your questions and comments might be on any particular Superman topic. And to let you know how all that works and how you can get involved in tonight's show, let me introduce you to my co-host, Mr. Michael Bailey. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Steve. How's it going?
Doing well, and yourself?
I'm doing okay.
Still trapped at the headquarters?
I'm still trapped at the Legion of Doom because it doesn't play with my hairline as much. I mean, it's because they haven't let me go yet. No, we're prepping for Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in a couple days, and I don't know how that happened because isn't it still March? In all honesty, but no one wants to hear about Thanksgiving because I'm sure most of the people in America who are watching this are probably knee deep in their own prep, and the people from outside of America are wondering what eggnog is. At least I'm going by what happened on my social media on Facebook recently. But anyways, what you're here to watch is WGBS Live, which is all about Superman. And because of that, we want to hear from the Superman fans that are watching us live right now on YouTube. So if we don't have a whole lot going on and we can get the technology to work, we want to hear from you. So how does that work? Well, you're going to use Skype. Get on Skype, search for Superman homepage, and send us a message that you'd like to be on the show. Now, couple things. One, wait for us to call you because this technology is still tenuous. And two, if you're using an external speaker to watch WGBS Live, please turn that down because we are on a bit of a delay and that can screw things up.
Yep, and for those who are tuning in live via YouTube, we invite you to join in the comments there. Chat with fans, ask questions, post your comments. Michael and I will check those out as the show goes on and react to them as necessary. And thank you already to guys like Demon, Justin, Adam, JP, Michael, Venkman, Mark, and others who are in the comments watching us live right now on YouTube. We appreciate you joining in. People saying, I'm in the shadows here. Well, yeah, that's where the lighting is in my new position in the room. I'll have to come up with one of those new fandangle ring things that they do with the lights, for podcasting, what have you. But already they're reacting on YouTube. Post your comments. And look, if you want your comment or question featured live on screen during the show, feel free to post a super chat. Now, what you do there is there's a little dollar symbol in the comments below there. You click on that, a slider will appear. You decide on the dollar amount that you want to donate for your comment or question to be featured live on the screen, and we will do that and react to it as we go. And a huge thank you to our sponsors and patrons, Douglas Meacham and John Patrick Van Pelt. And if you want to sponsor the Superman homepage, or you want your name or business featured live on this show, simply click the join button below, and there's different levels of perks. Oh, we've got a guest speaker.
Yeah, she's cold. So she's in my lap for the show. So we got another co-host that's just going to sit here and sleep because she's lazy.
Probably make more sense than us.
Yeah, good Lord knows that's true. Props to Justin for spotting your background without any hints. That was very good, sir.
Yeah, and Anthony noticing that it's the Godfall character Lila that's there on the cover. Now, for those who aren't aware, back in 2004, yes, we are dating ourselves, DC had this screensaver, and it was a screensaver that would not only react to the time of day it was where you were, so the background would either be light or night, or day or night, as the time was fitting, but the Daily Planet globe would spin there, the time would change. I think the comic book cover that is featured there on the back of the Daily Planet would change depending on what issue was out that week. So there was helicopters would buzz by. I think Superman would fly by every now and then. So it was a real interactive kind of, screensaver back in the day when screensavers were a thing.
You know what I miss? I miss General Conquest. And by that I say I miss the guy it might have been a woman. I'm just saying guy in general. I apologize. But like in the late 90s and early 2000s, he produced like these really awesome like desktop themes back when desktop themes were a thing. And he had like these really impressive screensavers, and you could like go super deep into changing how your computer looked. I just think back to all the time I wasted like changing how my computer looked. Now I have like no icons on my screen except the garbage, the recycle bin, and my wallpapers are on like a loop.
Yeah.
So it's just, but you used to, I think you still have those hosted on the site, don't you?
Yeah,
we used
to have icons. We still have them. Yeah, they're in the multimedia section of the site. There are icons you can download. That was such a thing, icons and changing your background, and you could even change the color of your window and all those different things. You really could customize your desktop on Macs or PCs, so these days it's mainly wallpapers. That's still a thing, but wallpapers used to be a huge thing. We used to host hundreds and hundreds of different wallpapers, and it got to a point where it just became ridiculous. But it was just a real different time of where people were really all about customizing. These days, you barely get to see the wallpaper on your computer because you've got so many windows and browsers and emails and things open that it's rare that you actually see what that wallpaper is.
Yeah, but man, back in 2004 when they were trying to redo the Superman books, and I'm glad they've never tried that again. I'm glad that we've just stuck with what they gave us. Yeah,
so that's my background, and so props to those guys who figured it out. That is a Michael Turner cover.
Yeah, because he did the covers to that Godfall.
Yep.
Did he do the interior art too?
I think he might have.
Because that was a time when they were really pushing Turner's art at DC. Because it was like shortly after that, I think he was doing the Supergirl story, where Kara was naked and had the dead eyes. Yep. So that's really interesting times. Brings back a lot of memories. 16 years ago. Wow. All right. Well, let's get into this week's topics, and we're going to start with movie news, where. Look, everybody's been talking about Zack Snyder, the Justice League, Snyder Cut, all that kind of stuff. He's been doing interviews left, right, and center. And he spoke to the guys at Film Junkie Vodka Stream, a YouTube channel, where he was asked about the idea of a director's cut for Man of Steel. Let's have a little sneak peek of what he had to say about that whole concept about a director's cut.
No, there's only a few scenes. That was like one of those movies that, for me, few and far between, maybe Guardians of Gaul and Man of Steel are two movies that I made that were pretty much, and I would actually Army, where, it was exactly what I wanted to do. It just worked out that that was the length of the movie, and it's not a short movie either, Man of Steel, by the way.
Not at all.
Good. But it flows. It flows.
Yes.
There was only a few scenes that we deleted, but it wasn't anything I think that would change the movie. So no. So the real answer is no. That movie is pretty much, it is what it is, and I love it, and it's kind of exactly the size that it was for me. That I wanted it to be.
Cool.
So there he is saying that no, I mean, Man of Steel pretty much was what he wanted to do, so it is the director's cut. There is no need for a director's cut because he didn't have to cut or pull things or leave things out that he would have preferred to be in there. There are some deleted scenes, don't get me wrong. There's one in particular of, the Kents with the baby that we really didn't get to see, but we've seen photos of. Actually, I think I can grab a quick photo of that while you give your thoughts.
Yeah, I thought we had answered this question before, where he said that was pretty much the cut of the movie that he wanted to do. Man of Steel is a weird movie. I watched it again recently just for my own. I like to kind of like view it just to see if the feelings I have for it are still the feelings I have for it.
Mm-hmm.
And pacing wise, that is such an uneven movie, because it starts off very strong. You got the Krypton scene, and then you got him on the oil well, and then there's like this dead area in the middle of it where he's just walking around and Lois is looking for him. And then once Zod hits Earth, it's like action scene after action scene after action scene. So it's kind of, I don't know how that would benefit from additional scenes or, like trying to, because the movie is so haphazard as it is. I don't know what adding other scenes, like, would it make it worse or would it make it better? I don't think there's any kind of connective tissue to put in there, because it's a pretty tight movie. I mean, it's not like the theatrical version of BVS where the additional scenes that were added in the Ultimate Edition actually improved the story.
Yeah, you're right.
Didn't change my mind about the film, but it improved the overall story. So my other question is, why can't we get him on? It seems like everybody has had him on their show, and it seems like the Superman homepage would be a place he would want to talk to. I don't know. Maybe I'm...
Oh, well, we could reach out and see if there are questions that we have for him. I definitely could see if that could happen. I'm sure our fans would like that. So, yeah, we'll try. Who knows? Make it happen.
I'd be very polite.
I'm sure you would be. I've never known you to be otherwise.
Well, except maybe after a few drinks.
Not on air, anyway.
Yeah, not on the
air. All right, so so no need for a director's cut of Man of Steel, but still on the movie side of the news, the Critics' Choice Awards, the nominees have been announced, and I was very pleased to see that Superman: Man of Tomorrow received a nomination for the Best Animated Movie. Best superhero movie category. It's up against Birds of Prey, The Old Guard, Secret Society of Second-Born Royals, and Sonic the Hedgehog. I haven't heard of some of those.
Yeah, the Secret Society of Second-Born Royals looked really interesting. It had one of the stars of that Andy Mack series that was on Disney. I honestly think the only reason it's been nominated is lack of options. There's not a whole lot. I'm not saying that to be mean. It's just there's not a whole lot for superhero films this year because there's not been a whole lot of movies.
Yeah.
So, it's not me being mean to them. It's just there's just not much going on. So, I wasn't really too happy with it, but I don't know. Maybe up against like Birds of Prey and all that, it should be the clear winner. It's just fortunate it's not like the same year that Endgame came out, which I think swept that. Yeah.
So I mean, like you said, there are slim pickings. So it's for best superhero movie, it's definitely in with a chance. And thank you for Demon for the super chat saying that his biggest problem with Man of Steel was the fact that Clark doesn't want to be a hero, he just wants to exist. In his opinion, Clark wants to help people, he just doesn't do it because he happens to be there, he seeks it out. And I guess that would probably be the case in a future Superman movie. This was obviously an origin story, and that you wouldn't necessarily seek out all this kind of to be out there in public if you didn't really, if you weren't brought up wanting to be in the public eye.
Yeah, and that would actually be one of my questions for Zack Snyder is, what is the appeal of doing the movie before the movie? Mm-hmm. Because this is a Superman movie where he's not quite Superman yet. What was the attraction for that? Because again, I don't. Man of Steel is not something that I overly insult because I completely understand why they went in the direction they went into. I just didn't like the direction.
Yeah.
I mean, I can hold two different theories in my head at once. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. So just going back to the Critics' Choice Awards, they obviously will do this in a COVID-safe manner. They'll be hosting it remotely with Kevin Smith and actress Danny Fernandez hosting the show. It will be aired on the CW on Sunday, January 10th, 2021, between 8 and 10 p.m. and will stream the next day for free on the CW app and CWTV.com. And we will hopefully be reporting on that day, the next day, that Superman Man of Tomorrow has won Best Superhero Movie in the Critics' Choice Awards. We'll keep you posted.
Yeah, I'm kind of fascinated about this.
So that's the movie side of things. Switching tact to the television side of things, there really isn't much going on other than the fact that we do know that Superman and Lois is in production. I did see what I think are the first 4 episode titles. I haven't had them confirmed, so I haven't posted anything about them yet. But guess what? The pilot episode's called Pilot, which is not very creative, but that's usually the way things go. But
I was about to say that's pretty standard.
Yes,
for these things.
Exactly. So if once we get confirmation of those, I will report on them at the Superman homepage. But Nicole Maines, the actress who plays Dreamer, Nia Nal, on the Supergirl TV series, posted this video on her social media accounts. I'll play it and see what you think.
Choose your character.
So there you have it, a choose your character, choose your fighter TikTok video. Obviously, making that like a video game there. It's got Kyla Lee as Alex Danvers, David Harewood as John Jones, Nicole Maines as Dreamer, and Jesse Rath as Brainiac 5. Their strengths: Alex is loyalty, John's is telepathy, Dreamer is puns, and Brainies is intelligence. But interestingly, all 4 characters have the same weakness: family trauma.
That's fair. Now I want that game. Now I want the mobile game that is supposed to be kind of or the fighting game that's kind of. Man, that would be awesome. A CW superhero verse fighting game where you put in all the characters from all the different shows and have them go at it. That would be kind of fun.
Yeah, so well done, Nicole, putting that together. An interesting little thing that they all got involved in using, in their costumes and that. But we do know that the 6th and final season of Supergirl is set to premiere on the CW in mid-2021. So it's behind, obviously, due to the fact that Melissa Benoist is having her first child. And but we will have Superman and Lois starting February 23rd. So only a couple of months to wait for that. But well done to Nicole for putting that together. Very cool.
Yeah. For lack of anything else going on, that fit the bill quite nicely.
Yes, indeed. All right, let's do our fan favorite segment, our weekly segment. Here is our promo intro. All right, Michael, what was our question from last week?
Last week's question was, what is your favorite comic book in your collection? And Jack Rocha wrote, I can speak, I promise. This is my favorite Superman comics that I own because it was the first back issue I remember buying. I was reading The Reign of the Superman as it was coming out, and once I realized I missed this backstory of the Eradicator, I had to get it. That's a good one.
Twin Towers there in the background.
I was grounded when that issue came out because my grades weren't all that good. So, but I had to have that book So I had one of my sisters drive me to the comic shop, like on the down low, because I needed that comic so bad. It was so important to me.
I can imagine. So well done, Jack. Thanks for sharing that one. Next up, we have Stephen Marshall, who says, my favourite comic issue is The Adventures of Superman 480. I remember being drawn to the cover by Superman and the Eradicator battling in front of the sun. While this isn't the final part of the story arc, this issue remains my favourite as it brings me back to the kid in me seeing it for the first time.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
I'm again, part of the same storyline. So.
Yeah. Interesting.
Justin Suarez wrote, my favorite comic book of all time is Justice League of America Volume 1, number 200, which Rob Kelly of the Fire and Water Podcast Network calls the greatest piece of literature in Western civilization.
Wow.
He didn't write that. That's just what Rob says. It has history and essence of DC that at times rivals new modern comics. Stories and artists in this particular comic at the time blended in a great cocktail. When I had a comic stall at Supernova Sydney a few years back, I accidentally sold it and kicked myself and had to hunt it down. With some magic, I was able to find it again. If you have this comic, or not, try and hunt for it. You will understand my passion for this one comic. It's a good one.
Nice,
it really
Justin.
is.
Very nice. All right, next up we have Jesse Church, who wrote, my favourite Superman comic was a hard choice, but I'll go with Superman #1 by John Byrne. It wasn't the first Superman comic I read, but it was a fresh starting point with the character and has kept my interest to this day. Very good choice.
You know, the thing I have to say about Jesse is that Jesse is a friend. You know, he was a good friend of mine. But lately, something strange. It's hard to recognize Jesse's got another girl and I want to make her mine.
Wow.
The fact that I screwed up the lyrics is what ruins the joke. Ron Crosby wrote, I'm going to cheat a little here and give 2. Of course. This was really hard, but I think you said physical media only, not digital, so that really narrowed things down. I lost my physical media years ago and been sticking mostly to digital. The first one is Doomsday Clock. Honestly, for most of the story, I wouldn't necessarily call it a Superman comic, but that last issue felt like a love letter to us Superman fans, or at least to us Superman fans of a very particular era. I am also attaching For Tomorrow. I know a lot of people don't like this one or don't get it, but that's fine. I do admit, as comics are a visual media, Jim Lee's art is likely why it ranks so high on my list. But I also enjoy the story. Superman talks with the priest in particular were just really good. I was so tempted to go with Kingdom Come, but I'm fairly sure someone will submit that one for the sake of variety. Those are my 2 submissions for the week.
Well done, Ron. Thank you very much for explaining all that. Jim Lee's art is definitely up there with some of people's favourites. But the For Tomorrow story was definitely a controversial one amongst readers.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up we have Kenneth Crowley Jr., who says, my favourite Superman comic book is in my collection. I have a few, but I will limit it to 3. First is the Death and Return of Superman Omnibus, the 2nd edition with a cool cover by Dan Jurgens. It's my favourite Superman comic story of all time. I'm glad to own it in omnibus format. Second is the cover to Superman number 75. I originally got this issue when it originally came out, lost it, rebought it on eBay recently for a cheap price, and a great 90s comic cover. Third is one of my favourite modern Superman stories in trade paperback format, Superman Brainiac. Jeff Johns really gets the character off of Superman just right, and the artwork by Gary Frank really sells the story really well, and it has Supergirl in it too. Keep up the super great work with Superman homepage, guys, and up and away. Thanks to Kenny. It's signed there too.
Yep, and you repeated Kenny with me, so I'm just going to skip to the last one with Anthony.
Yep.
If you don't mind. Anthony Mage. Hey, Anthony. Always appreciate you saying goodbye to Rachel. My personal all-time fave Superman comic would have to be the Jeff Loeb and Michael Turner's beloved fan fave and iconic Superman Batman, the Supergirl from Krypton. Arc itself for Post-Crisis on Infinite Earths main DCU metaverse continuities. Wow, that was a mouthful. Kara Zor-El was rightfully introduced into DC's continuity of then. I just loved how Superman welcomes Kara into his life. Here's my treasured hardcover trade of it in the form of Superman, Batman, Supergirl.
Very nice, thank you. Anthony, do you have a favorite, Michael?
If I was going to choose single comics editions, I'd always have to go to like Superman #8 and Action Comics #591. That's where it started. Everything you see here is because of that. If I was going to choose a collected edition, it would actually be the Superman Exile and Other Stories omnibus, because I was just shocked that they put that into an omnibus. And all of the stories they chose is such a great era for me for Superman that I was so happy to finally get that.
Very nice. I struggled with this because it's very hard to pick just one. But this came up as a memory looking at the Superman, the Man of Tomorrow #1. It just reminds me of the time that around the time when I first really started getting into the Superman comic books, and this cover was one that really stuck in my mind. So it's really interesting. They say don't judge a book by its cover, but it's hard to not remember comic books by their covers, and this one stuck out in my memory.
Yeah, that was that was an important book, because that was the 5th ongoing Superman title that was introduced in the 90s. It didn't last very long.
No.
But
it helped fill out that skip week.
Yeah, until they started doing other things, and then it was just kind of useless, or not necessary. But no, I remember when that came out, I was almost as excited as Superman: The Man of Steel, because again, it was just affirmation for me as a Superman fan, as somebody who took so much crap from people for liking Superman, the fact that another book was coming out. And it was written by Roger Stern with art by Tom Grummett. I mean, it was just like there was nothing bad about that.
Indeed. All right, so what is our new... Well, firstly, thanks to everyone who got involved in that one. Really cool to get the fan involvements on this fan favourite segment of our show. Loving the involvement and interaction that we're getting with our regular watchers, regular viewers. So let's see more. Let's get some more involvement. What is the new question for this week, Michael?
What is the oldest item in your Superman collection?
Yeah, so not the one that...
the answer to that too.
Okay, cool. Yeah, not the one that you've had the longest, so not the oldest item that you've, the original one but what is the oldest as in it's historical? Does it date... Do you have a copy of Action Comics #1 from 1938?
Here's the thing. I have been asked if I would want that, and I always say no. And I say no because owning like an original copy of Action Comics #1 is a responsibility that I'm not willing to bear. That, one, you're going to have to get a safety deposit box at a bank, because you can't keep it in your house.
That's for sure.
Like what am I going to bag and board it and put it in like the Action Comics right at the beginning of it
in a long box?
Yeah, I mean that would just be insane. But it's such a historic document. It is an artifact. It belongs in a museum, and I'm just not ready for that responsibility.
No, I'm with you. I mean, imagine the insurance policy you'd have to take out.
Yeah, I mean, the thing's worth millions of dollars. Even bad condition, that thing is worth millions of dollars. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, get involved. The email address is up now on your screen at the bottom right-hand corner, info@supermanhomepage.com. Let us know what your what your oldest item in your collection is. And I seem to have just lost Michael there, so I'm going to try to get him back on. So just bear with me as I redial Michael and get him back on for the second half hour of our show. So I'm going to take a quick break. We're at the halfway mark of our show. We're just going to play a few messages, and then we'll be back, hopefully, with Michael to discuss the monthly segments of our show. So we'll be back right after this.
We'll be back in a moment with the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
If you're enjoying WGBS TV Live, then please like and share this video with your family and friends. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to our YouTube channel, you can click on the bell to receive notifications whenever we post a new video. You can also join our YouTube membership program, just click the join button below. Or you can become a patron and support our website by visiting patreon.com/Superman homepage.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane. No, it's SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. SupermanHomepage.com, covering the world of Superman from the 1930s to today. News, reviews, rumors, and reports. SupermanHomepage.com for all your Superman comics, TV shows, movies, cartoons, radio shows, and more. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Man of Steel and more. SupermanHomepage.com.
Thanks, Superman Homepage, for all the support over the years. I really appreciate it.
I'm Matt Balmer. I'm the voice of Superman and Superman Unbound, and this is the Superman Homepage.
Right here on Superman Homepage.
Hi, this is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman from Justice League Action. You're listening to SupermanHomepage.com.
This is James Komachek, the voice of Superman.
This is Jeff Loeb, and you're listening to SupermanHomepage.com.
This is John Hames Newton, and you're listening to SupermanHomepage.com.
This is Jack O'Halloran on SupermanHomepage.com.
Oh, it's okay.
Hi, I'm Tim Daly, the voice of Superman, here on Superman Homepage.
This is Mr. Perry White's house, and inside, Perry White of the Daily Planet is just sitting down to breakfast. Mr. White is one of those remarkable men who is in complete control of himself in any crisis. Calm, cool-headed, easygoing, even-tempered.
Where are those Kellogg's cornflakes? If someone doesn't bring me another package within 2 seconds, I'll...
2 seconds? This sounds like a job for Superman.
About time.
Mr. White's a man who always gets his way. But even Superman couldn't keep everybody in Kellogg's cornflakes all the time. Every morning, more people run out of Kellogg's cornflakes than any other cereal. They taste best to more people. Always have, still do. That's why it's so easy to run out of them. So anytime you buy any cereal of any kind, pick up a spare package of Kellogg's cornflakes. You'll like them.
And we're back on WGBS TV Live, and Michael's back with us too.
Yes.
Lost your background, but it's all good.
Yeah, I
got sick of that one.
It was starting to bother me. I'm going to have to get one of those fancy green screen things.
Oh,
but,
good.
no, it's that commercial you just played for Kellogg's Cornflakes is available on the. They issued a soundtrack to the Adventures of Superman television series, and that's the bonus track. Is that commercial? So it's always interesting seeing it because I'm so used to hearing it. The other question is, why is Clark Kent lurking outside of Perry White's house, holding a box of cornflakes?
Staring into his house using his X-ray vision.
Yeah, that's kind of insane. Superman, boundaries. Come on, man.
And that's why Noel Neal was never involved in any of those commercials, because it wouldn't be proper for a woman to be having breakfast with her co-workers.
Yeah,
that's the story.
But Jimmy Olsen and Clark having breakfast together doesn't raise any suspicions
Not at
whatsoever.
All. No. And speaking of which, you'll probably get to this in This Week in History, but Noel Neal would have been 100 this coming, I think it's tomorrow or the next few days. Sadly, we lost her a couple of years back, but 100 she would have been. So happy birthday to Noel. What a great lady she was.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, let's get into our monthly segments. Let's start with the big question segment of our show.
Let's start with the big question.
All right, what was our big question last month, Michael?
Last month's big question was, which era of Superman comic books has been the best and why? And Ron Crosby wrote, my favorite would be Rebirth. Thanks to Rebirth, I have more of an appreciation for the New 52, which, like many, I wasn't a huge fan of. But without the New 52, there would be no Rebirth, and obviously the art and writing. Jurgens and Tomasi just really nailed it. The updated costumes were also great. The New 52 tried to update the costume, but went a little too far. The Rebirth costume and the later, even better Reborn costume, my favorite, were such a great combination of the classic and the contemporary.
Yeah, well done, Ron. Excellent choice there. Stephen Marshall wrote, for me it's the Byrne era, and maybe even more so when he left right with Jurgens, Ordway, etc. taking over. I fell in love with comics when I read the Man of Steel issues, but my favourite stories are stories like Exile, Time and Time Again, and Panic in the Sky. Classic stories.
Cyrus Trochet wrote, 2006 to 2010 for me. I loved the attempts to humanize Superman without deconstructing him, and artists like Gary Frank, Adam Kubert, Pete Woods, and Eric Powell. Side series like Michael Green and Johnson's entire Superman Batman run, Nick Spencer's Jimmy Olsen, and Jeff Lemire's Superboy remain personal favorites as well. I know this era to some extent failed enough to lead to the New 52, but I encourage people to give it another look. I don't know if that, that era failing led to the New 52. I think it was just DC overall not connecting.
Yeah, I think they had plans to do that originally anyway.
That really did it, because that's such an interesting time period to me now, because it doesn't, to me personally, it doesn't feel like the Superman that I love, my Superman. I guess I should use the air quotes there. But on the other hand, it's a neat collection of Superman stories. Yeah. So I'm glad that different eras are getting the love here.
Yeah, for sure. Robbie SE wrote, while I'm of two minds on this, on one hand, the post-crisis Superman is my first, with Superman Annual number 4 from 1992 is my favourite comic ever, and it was the supes I grew up with. On the other hand, I love the New 52 Superman. It brought me back to comics with my absolute favourite costume design. It helped me completely dive back into comics, and I did love the run. Not to mention me and my girlfriend cosplayed the New 52 Superman and Lois, but which one is better? I can't do it. Don't make me choose. Well, there you go. There's just another idea of someone's favourite being the New 52, which for many failed Superman. A lot of people don't consider him to be Superman at all.
Yeah, and then there's people out there that is their Superman. I mean, it's such a... Superman is such a malleable character and has been through so many different iterations that it's going to appeal to different people, which is why I think this idea of trying to say what we're talking favorites.
Yeah.
Favorite and best are two different things, because one you're arguing taste and one you're trying to objectively judge something, and that's why I don't think you can ever have a definitive... It's like when you look at these best of Superman stories, like the same 10 stories are always in the top 10. Whereas I always look at that as this is the top 10 stories of somebody who hasn't read a whole lot of Superman.
That's true.
Kenny Crowley Jr. wrote, Dear Superman homepage, hello Steve and Michael. My favorite era of Superman comics is the era between 2001 and 2011. The pre-New 52 era, while not all those stories were great, there were some great creative teams, writer-artist-wise, on the titles, and they were refreshing after the not-so-good stories of the mid-late to late 90s.
Yeah, another point of view there. So they were the responses to our big question, and thank you to all those people who responded to this tricky question, and like I said, a diverse range of answers and opinions there, which is great to see. So thank you everyone for responding to last month's big question. So now we push on to the next question, which is what, Michael, for the big question segment?
What Superman items do you like collecting the most, and why?
Yeah, get involved in the big question segment. Is it t-shirts, comic books, posters, action figures, statues? What do you like collecting? Let us know. Get involved in the big question segment of our show by heading to supermanhomepage.com. Under the contact menu, you will find the big question feedback form, and we will respond and read out all the responses we get to this question when we return to this segment at the end of December. So that is the big question segment for this week. So let's push on straight into the super secret soundbite. Here is our intro.
Only one thing alive with less than 4 legs can hear this frequency, Superman, and that's you.
Alright, so last month's sound came from, or let's hear it again before I give it away. Here was last month's sound. Let's hear it.
This disguise is really wonderful, for who would guess that underneath this white shirt is a great big red S.
So there you have it. The song, the sound, came from the 1966 Broadway musical It's a Bird, It's a Plane, It's Superman. And we had 3 people guess it right. Who were they, Michael?
They were Jack Rocha, Lynn S.M., and John G.
Rinaldi. Yeah, well done, John. Good to see his name. A Superman trivia buff. I think the Rinaldis, if I'm not mistaken, are the 2 father-son team that run the trivia quiz at the Superman celebration in Metropolis, Illinois. So I'm not surprised to see John's name there listed as guessing that one right. Not a hard one, but if you're not familiar with the 1966 Broadway musical, you probably were trying to wonder where that came from. But if you are familiar with it, it would have come to you straight away.
It's available for streaming. I don't know. I think
really?
Maybe on Amazon Music.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you can listen to it. It's because somebody was telling me about that, and I'm like, I've had it so long.
Yeah.
That I don't even think of where someone would go to find it nowadays.
Yeah, that was Bob Holliday there singing in the role of Superman, a good friend of myself and the Superman homepage, and sadly we lost him a few years ago as well. But let's hear this next super secret soundbite. And I mentioned last time we were doing this segment that I was going to kind of change tact a little bit with the way we do the super secret soundbite. I'm going to take the word Superman from a song. See if you can guess. Well, if you can guess the artist and song, that's fantastic. If you can only do one or the other, that's fine as well. Mainly the artist is who we're looking for. So see if you can guess where in the world of music this sound singing Superman comes from. Here it is. Superman. I'm going to play it one more time. You ready? Here we go. Superman. So, do you think you know where in the world that song comes from? If you know who the artist is, what the name of the song is, then get involved in the super secret soundbite segment of our show. Again, you head to supermanhomepage.com. Under the contact menu, you will find the super secret soundbite entry form. Fill it out, send your entry in, and we will read the names of every person who guesses it right when we return to this segment late in December. Any ideas without saying, you know?
I could not hear it.
Oh, okay. I thought you were trying to...
You'll have to send me the clip so I can hear it.
I will do that.
I can see you, and I can see everything now live instead of watching it on the delay.
You don't hear the
but
sound.
I still can't.
No. Yeah, all good. So yeah, get involved in the super secret soundbite and big question segments of our show. All right, I think we have a caller. I'm going to try to bring him in as we head to the comic book segment of our show. I'm going to bring in Mark Lax, if I can move some buttons and things out of the way. Calling Mark right now, so as we go to talk about the comic book side of things, let's see if Mark can join us for tonight's program. We haven't done this in a while, so it seems to be dialing. Hello, Mark.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Doing well, thanks. How are you?
Not too bad.
That's good. Good to hear from you. We're going to start talking the comic book side of things, which I thought was a good time to bring you in. I saw today the announcement from DC Comics that they're doing a new Super Sons comic book series by Peter J. Tomasi and Max Raynor. It's going to launch on December 14th. It will be a maxi series of, I think, 14 issues, 99 cents per chapter. Challenge of the Super Sons. What did you make of this, Michael?
I'm not surprised. The Super Sons was very popular. I think there's probably people in the chat right now that are still mad that Bendis aged Jonathan up. If you're going to do this as a digital first and then release it as like a single issue or in a trade paperback, I think that's the best thing you can do, because you're giving people what they want. They wanted more of these characters like this, so they're doing it. That's fantastic.
Mark.
Yeah. So this is original, or this is all the.
This is new. So this is Peter J. Tomasi picking up where Super Sons and Adventures of Super Sons left off. Damien and John, the assassin-trained son of Batman, and the boy next door, son of Superman, tackle their greatest threat ever, the deadly Doom Scroll. Whomever, we can never tell, has their name inscribed on this ancient and magical parchment will be killed post-haste. Now the evil powers that be have written the names of the Justice League on the deadly dock, and Superboy and Robin are the only ones who can save their dads from certain doom.
It sounds okay. I hate Damien. So I don't, I like John. I don't know if I'll read it, but the thing with John is, I'm not reading Legion of Superheroes, and I haven't been up to date on the regular Superman titles. Mm-hmm. So John's an okay character, but I'm just kind of what's the word? Apathetic.
Yeah.
I don't know about the comics right now.
You're whelmed.
Yes, I'm very whelmed, and I've been reading some Golden Age Superman, and I've been reading this Superman Man of Tomorrow, which I just think is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great book.
Yeah. This will be like that. This will be a digital debut. December 14th, as I said, 99 cents per chapter, 14 chapters in all. But yeah, Superman Man of Tomorrow, the digital series, has been fantastic, and issue 20 just came out yesterday or Monday.
I'm not quite up there yet to 20, but so far what I've read is I think it's phenomenal, to be honest. In fact, Michael, I've been listening to old episodes of From Crisis to Crisis.
Oh my God!
Because
why?
I started around the death, and I go on through there. So I really haven't listened to any of the older stuff. So I said, "What the heck?" So now I'm listening to a lot of older stuff, and it's really interesting. Not only the show is just as good, I think, between you and Jeffrey, but all the things you talk about, the topics, and all that, it's just kind of funny. Because you say things that mean nothing 10 years later.
Well, the funny thing is we got a message from somebody about 2 months ago, and she had just started listening to the show, and apparently back in 2009 I made a joke that people would be listening to the show in 2020 and not have any frame of reference of what we were talking about.
Yeah.
And now it's 2020 and we haven't finished the show. In fact,
I know.
We literally, like the other night we recorded, we're literally halfway through now. Whenever people say I've gone back and listened to the show, I'm like, God, this sound was terrible. Why are you doing that to yourself?
The sound could have been better, but no, it's still good. It's just funny when you say, well, when the show ends in about 3 years,
Yeah. Laugh it up, Paul.
But it's just been a lot of fun to listen to those. So.
Excellent. Well, thanks for calling in, Mark. It's really great to hear from you again, and I really appreciate you continuing listening to the show.
All right, guys. You take care.
You too. See ya.
Okay, bye.
Bye. That was Mark Lax. So thank you to Mark for calling in tonight. And that's how easy it is. You just go to Skype, send Michael a message on Superman homepage saying you want to be part of the show, and we will dial you, and it all happens. All right. Also today, DC Comics released an announcement about their free DC Nation magazine, which is available right now from your local comic book store or digital retailer, or also on dccomics.com/Future State. It's DC Comics Presents DC Future State. It's the magazine that gives you the whole behind-the-scenes look at what's going on with the upcoming 2-month saga that will take place across the whole line of DC Comics for January and February, reimagined and reinvented superheroes for tales in possible futures from across the DC universe. So yeah, the magazine's got all this behind-the-scenes stuff that will give you a look at the character designs, costumes for these new characters, well, not new characters, but new versions of these characters. So excellent, a free magazine. Venkman saying, "What is Bibbo thankful for this Thanksgiving?" I guess we'll finish off with that, Michael, if you want to think on that.
Sure, I'll think. I know one thing, but
okay.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Okay, but yeah, so dccomics.com/future state. This is a free magazine that contains everything that fans want to know about the 2-month event, including behind-the-scenes interviews with some of the fan favorite and new storytellers that are part of this event, sneak peeks at some of the new characters and designs in store, a gallery of covers, and a checklist of all the must-have titles that could become new favorites in 2021 and beyond.
Yeah, I'm kind of fascinated that magazine still exists. Because apparently, I know they were trying to do it digitally, but I saw somebody had a print edition of it. So, I don't know. DC Comics is so weird right now anyways. Just in how they're, distributing things, and are they going to be cutting back to just like 12 titles? And yeah, it's going to be like 2 years before everything's really shaken down and we can really comment on it.
Yeah, but interesting times at DC Comics. But yeah, DC Nation presents DC Future State is available at your comic book retailer, or check out the website dccomics.com Future State. And Future State debuts at comic book retailers and digital stores on Tuesday, January 5th, 2021. So the 2-month company-wide event taking over the titles in that period. All right, and speaking of DC Future State, there was a really great interview by Newsarama with Philip Kennedy Johnson, who is writing not one but 2 titles in the DC Future State saga. He's writing the Superman Worlds at War comic book, and which is 2 issues, and then the one-shot Superman House of L, which is published in February. And I really like what he says about his take on Superman. He says that in simplistic terms, he feels so good to write. Superman inspires people, certainly inspires me. He shows us who we're supposed to be. He cares about everyone, even his enemies. He's a man of almost absolute power, but also absolute compassion, kindness, humility. Having a character like that in my head just makes me want to be more than I am.
How can you argue with that? I
mean,
it's better than sometimes when it's just like, I can't relate to Superman, so I'm going to change him to make him something that I can relate to. So, I mean, he's definitely doing a different take on the character, but it seems like he's got a solid foundation.
Yeah, to work from.
And I have to say, I was not really interested in just about anything I've seen except that House of L special. For whatever reason, that looks like I may actually pick that up digitally, because it looks cool. It looks like, I think more than what they're doing. I'm not so much interested in going to the next generation, but going way down the road is kind of cool. And I like the idea of that.
And Mark asking, do we have word yet on a successor for Brian Michael Bendis? Not as yet, because with January and February solicitations, we only know about this 2-month DC Future State. It will be March before March comic books, that is, that will see the new writer come on board. And DC have not announced that yet. I imagine that will happen in the next week or 2. Usually mid-month is when the solicitations come out. I have a feeling we'll get the announcement of a new writer before the solicitations come out. So the next 2 weeks, I imagine.
Yeah, it'll be one of those things where it'll drop a couple days before the solicitations hit. It'll be Bleeding Cool will break it and all that kind of stuff, and someone will break the embargo.
Yes. Now, as for comic books out this week, here is what comic book fans can look forward to for the Superman titles. We have Action Comics 1027. If you're not a fan of that comic cover, then this variant might be more your taste. Also out this week is Batman Superman number 14, and that is also out in a variant cover. And as I mentioned, the DC Nation presents DC Future State free magazine is out this week as well. Also out this week is a Legion of Superheroes number 11, and that is also available in a variant cover. And then, as we said, on the digital download front, we have Superman Man of Tomorrow number 20 available already. It was available on Monday. And then today, Injustice Year Zero number 11 is available for digital download as well. So that's what's out this week on the comic book front. And our, what's that doing there still? And our readers, our reviewers, sorry, James Lance has already done reviews for Action Comics 1027 and Legion of Superheroes number 11. They are up on our website now. We should have the review of Batman Superman number 14 very soon as well. So check those out on our website.
JP in the chat is apparently amused and thinks that Gary Franks' faces all look the same. He's, it's not wrong.
Yeah. There is something to be said for that. Also, just quickly before we wrap up, or before we get to this week in history, there are rare Fleischer Superman artwork available at Heritage Auctions, and these are rare indeed. This is something that I'd never thought would see. Artwork and spec sheets for the Fleischer cartoons, which were done in the 1940s. These are phenomenal. Action charts, stills, things that, like I said, we thought would never see or had been lost to time, will be auctioned off at heritageauctions.com between December 11 and 13.
Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing. Talk about history and things that need to be in a museum.
Yes, indeed. All right, let's quickly go through some of this week in history, Michael. Here's your promo. Go.
Come with me now, my son, as we break through the bars of your earthly confinement, traveling through time and space.
Alrighty, super quick. We have Superboy number 86 came out in November 22nd, 1960, with 3 stories: The Super Cower, The Boy Who Betrayed Clark Kent, and The Army of Living Kryptonite Men, which is the cover of that one. Also that week, you had Jimmy Olsen number 50, which had The Lord of Olsen Castle, The Weirdest Asteroid in Space, and The Super Life of Jimmy Olsen. Jumping to 1970, you have Action Comics number 396, which has Superman on a wheelchair, the Super Panhandler Metropolis. That's a great story, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I love that book so much. Also that week, you had Adventure Comics number 401, where Supergirl was in some serious go-go boots, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Jumping to 1980, The New Adventures of Superboy number 14 with Luthor's Power Ploy and a mix-up in magic. Also that week, Super Friends number 41, which had the Super Friends fighting the Heavyset Toyman. One of my favorite Superman books ever came out in 1990, Adventures of Superman number 474, where Dan Jurgens not only dealt with teen drinking and driving, but also the right to die.
Wow.
Really deep issue. Jumping to 2000, you had Superboy number 82. This is Jay Farber written issue. You have Supergirl number 52 by Peter David and Leonard Kirk. And Superman, the Man of Steel, number 22, where Luthor is taking a victory lap. And finally, in 2010, you had DC Comics presents Superman number 2, which has an awesome recoloring of a Ed McGuinness cover with a yellow S instead of a black one.
There you have it. That was This Week in History. And that brings us to the end of tonight's program. Before we wrap up, I want to thank everyone for tuning in to WGBS TV Live tonight. Thank you to everyone on the YouTube channel for your comments. And thank you to you, my co-host, Mr. Michael Bailey.
It's okay, Steve. Bilbo's thankful for Soder. Soder.
And everyone who does celebrate Thanksgiving in the next, I think it's 2 days away, wish you a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy that. Thanks to our sponsors and patrons, Douglas Meacham and John Patrick Van Pelt. And Michael and I will be back next week on Tuesday, December 1st for another edition of WGBS TV Live. We look forward to talking to you then. Until then, make sure you check out supermanhomepage.com for all your daily news updates on everything surrounding the Man of Steel. I'm Steve Eunice on behalf of myself and Michael Bailey. Thanks for watching WGBS TV Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com. Bye.